Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by our friends at Toyota. All right, here we go. The report cards begin for your Cubs players. What grade would you give the Cubs catchers? Plus, the World Series is tied at 2. Can the Blue Jays actually pull this off? And who said no, Ohtani or the Cubs? I think we really know the answer. Plus, why you never, ever give up. This show is so money you don't even know it. Money, baby, money. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by our friends at Toyota. It is the 29th of October. Halloween is almost here. The World Series is still going on, tied at 2. Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopolous, Sean Anderson running the 1s and 2s for us today. Hi to everybody in the live YouTube chat here at the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Don't forget, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger to subscribe, like, and then tell another stranger. Right? Is that
Absolutely.
the deal?
Yeah, especially in this Halloween week. Throw on a costume when you tell the stranger, too.
Well, don't scare them, but, depends on what the costume is. If it looks friendly.
Scare them with your kindness. Don't threaten them.
That's right.
I think is the idea here.
Candy, and make sure it's good candy. All right, so we're going to talk about the World Series. We are going to start grading our players with the Cubs catchers because, in general, that's a position that we got more out of than I think anybody expected to. Jed Hoyer talks about exceeding projections. There's a spot where the Cubs certainly did that this year. We're also going to talk about that John Heyman report. Ohtani, the $700 million deferred over 10 years. Did the Cubs get it? Did the Cubs say no? Did everybody say no? What really happened there? We'll dive into that just a little bit. And then we maybe have a little bit of fun with an anniversary that's going on today.
'Tis the season to look back on 2016, Luke. So
yes,
we're going to do that a couple of times, especially next week.
Much more next year, obviously. Yeah. Okay, so before we get to grading the catchers, World Series last night, I jumped in and out of the game, and the Blue Jays did it. I kind of thought after they lost the extra innings game that went 18, I thought they'd be dead in the water, and that might be it. Give them credit. And don't forget, their payroll's up there too. And they've got some veteran guys. They played the game loose last night. There was no panic just hours after losing that long, epic game in World Series history. Shane Bieber. Now, I'm not going to say I said the Cubs should go for somebody like that, but we did. 18 months after his Tommy John surgery, pitched against Ohtani roughly 2 years after his Tommy John surgery, his second. What can we expect from Justin Steele as a sidebar to this? And what did you see in Bieber, the free agent, potentially coming up this offseason?
Well, let's start first with the game last night.
Yeah.
Punched Ohtani out twice.
Yeah.
They walked him the first time.
Yes, he did.
They
So
eventually
6 in a row.
They eventually did pitch to him, so I know. Small sample size, bottle it up. But I think baseball is caught up with Ohtani fever right now. So the fact that Bieber was able to punch him out twice, credit, good for him. Great news for him. When it comes to Justin Steele, I believe they're roughly the same age. Bieber is 30 years old. Justin Steele, I think, is 29, or maybe he's about to turn 30 or 31, somewhere in there.
Coming off a second Tommy John.
Same ballpark. And I think maybe the Blue Jays are just now, over the last 3 weeks or so, and it's coming at the right time, probably getting the best of Shane Bieber. Now, they haven't had to run him out there a ton. He's come out in some shorter stints. It's been pretty up and down for him. He's had a hard time getting through the fourth inning of 2 of his starts. He's had one good start, and last night was a really good start. But when we think about Justin Steele, I think a lot of things for Cubs fans, a lot of it's going to be about managing your expectations, trying to be reasonable about it. When Justin Steele, if and when he comes back next year, do not expect him to be the Justin Steele of old, and it might take another year, another offseason for him to get his arm fully healthy and back. But rolling it forward, Shane Bieber, I'm not going to say he's at the top of our free agent wish list. A little bit of what we tied into yesterday of most likely, least likely. And I don't want to say consolation prize because that's derogatory, but I do think Shane Bieber still has plenty of upside and plenty to offer. And when we talk about 2016, I mean, he was one of the main dudes in their rotation. I still think he has a lot of bullets left in the gun, if you will. And if the Chicago Cubs, as I've mentioned, if the Cubs went out and signed Shane Bieber to a Matthew Boyd-ish type deal, I probably would thumbs up that.
Here's my thing, though. I would guess that he's going to, having now had success in the postseason, just like Boyd did the year before in the postseason, I think he's going to get a deal that also includes the fact that he was a Cy Young winner and the best pitcher in baseball for a while, and he's still only 31. You can't have enough pitching. When you look at Bieber, I'm not sure he's leaving Toronto, first of all. That's an organization that pays, and they're willing to pay a guy like him. Well, if they were willing to take a chance on Bieber before, why wouldn't they take a chance on Bieber then a whole nother offseason after Tommy John surgery? Like, I assume he's probably staying in Toronto or taking himself out of the Cubs market. But he does fit into that Cubs profile of Matthew Boyd or pitchers where they try and get him and say, we could find this, and he might still be moving into he could get back to where he was or somewhere close to that. I just don't want, whether it's Steele coming off of Tommy John or whether it's Bieber, I don't want the expectations to be too high. Even if they're both on the Cubs roster next year, I want them to be looked at as, hey, these are jokers. These are wild cards that we have in our deck for next year. So if you are going to sign Bieber and you are hoping that somehow Justin Steele is ready in the first month or two of the season next year, I don't know. First of all, I don't know that you can do that. But if you're expecting both of those guys to pitch for you next year, I want you to think of them as wild cards, even more so than Matthew Boyd, who Fangraphs thought was going to, or Zips thought was going to pitch like 40 innings this year. He can't, if you were to sign Bieber, he cannot be your one starting pitcher that you acquire in the offseason.
Right.
He has to be your two. He has to be the second guy you acquire. There has to be a bigger, more definite, more certain name and player that hasn't been hurt recently ahead of him.
That's the rub, right? And I'm
Yes.
100% with you on that, where I am thumbsing up an idea of Shane Bieber joining the Cubs, even though I think you're making a great point about he's now in a winning situation on a team that obviously at the trade deadline clearly wanted him, brought him in, they went to a World Series. Them running it back on a 2-year deal or something that has a mutual or a club option makes a lot of sense for Toronto, and honestly probably makes a lot of sense for Shane Bieber. Having said that, if the Cubs got into the mix, I would thumbs up the Chicago Cubs bringing in Shane Bieber. But as you just said, I am not thumbs. This thumb goes like this.
Yeah.
If he is the only piece that you were adding to a rotation because of, I get it, he's coming off of injury, but we just don't know if he can ever return to Cy Young form or at that top-notch level. And we do have a lot of guys that I think we'll do our report cards on our pitchers in due time, but I think we got a lot of BB pluses in our rotation. Maybe Cade Horton can be that ace literally with the grade and as a card in a card game. But Shane Bieber, I don't know if that's exactly the sure thing of a top-tier guy that you would add. So if it was just him, I wouldn't feel so great about it. It would have to be one of a couple.
Yeah, you know what I think is the most likely? Actually, I think the Dodgers are the most likely team because they can slot him in and just say, hey, you're going to have the Kershaw treatment next year. Continue to get healthy, and when we need you in the postseason, you'll be starting playoff and World Series games for us. Okay, That's the most likely. They'll give him an absurd amount that nobody else wants to pay, and that'll happen. If it's not him, it's the Blue Jays. Even third on the list ahead of the Cubs for me would be, just goes back to Cleveland. His house is still there. He still lives there. If Cleveland's willing to, if he loved it there and he loved the team, it's one of those deals where you get traded away and you just come back.
I hear you, but the issue with Cleveland is they need to spend money, and they're broke losers who don't spend money. So, I mean, they're closer to trading Jose Ramirez, their franchise, before signing Shane Bieber
I hope they
and
do.
doing a fan service.
And
like Shane Bieber with this performance is going to get an actual deal. That's the thing that I feel like.
Yes.
Like the Cubs signed Matthew Boyd because he was worth $15 million and no one else was going to pay over $15 million. Yeah. Shane Bieber could have a bidding war where if it's just a 1-year deal, why not pay him $30 million? Because he could be a Cy Young guy.
And Sean, real quick, follow up with you. You're an AL Central maven. I mean, where would you land with Shane Bieber on the open market as a guy who 2 years ago, yes, I think was easily a top of the rotation type guy. Again, Cy Young winner, a guy who headed up a rotation, 9-10 years ago that the Guardians, or then a different name, went to the World Series. But Sean, now on the other side of 30 off this surgery, I can't necessarily off my eyes say that he's cleared every hurdle and back to that form. Do you like him on a multi-year deal for a team? And do you think that he can be a 1 or a 2 again? Or do you think maybe he's more of a really, really good 3 in a rotation?
Hell at 31, he's going to want multiple years. If you get him, obviously.
I'd give it to him, too. I mean, hey, maybe you make it something where it's a 2-year deal because that's around where the lockout/strike might happen. You give him a player option to then become 42, a free agent. Right? But in the 9 games, not including the playoffs, that he's come back and pitched in a 2.75 ERA in 52 1/3 innings. He's only allowed 8 walks. I mean, that's the thing that stands out to me is when they talk about Tommy John surgery, it's not the velocity that you need to regain, it's the control. Well, he's come back with somehow better control than he had before when he was a Cy Young winner. It's not like a guy that you could really put all your eggs into one basket. He's had injury issues. He's missed a decent amount of 2021 with injuries, wasn't fully healthy in obviously 2023, and he's coming back, but why not? I mean, he's
2 for 43,
and he's very similar to the Justin Steele journey. I enjoy the comp, and just in terms of the injury timeline, because he only made 2 starts and his whole year got wiped out.
Yeah,
and now he just came back a couple of months.
That's why I can't. I mean, I know we've seen video of Steele throwing a baseball, which is great to all of our eyes, and I want him to push himself and get back, but I want him to get back to when he's ready to get back. Like that, you're not going to let the pitcher tell you, hey, this is how long your rehab's going to go. Like, he influences it, but they also have to be wise about Justin Steele. So I don't know how you can expect anything. This is my opinion. And what do I know? I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I didn't really. I don't know how you can expect anything out of Steele in the first half of the season. I know people think he's going to be ready for opening day, but if you're planning on Justin Steele pitching and being your first, second, or third starter in the first half of next year, or even next year, I think the whole thing is crazy.
No, if you're liking him throwing tiny little balls against the wall and him trying to rehab right now, if you're rooting for Justin Steele right now, then you have to be rooting for him to get back to 100% and absolutely 100%. If you name check this right now and put this into your mental file, Cubs fans, that if in April and May you start bemoaning where is Justin Steele and why isn't he ready, you're just being selfish as a fan. You have to want the best for the player and come back when he's fully ready to roll. And personally, I don't think that's going to be till July-ish, maybe even August 1.
Yeah, I don't need him to be Sandy Alcantara last year.
Right. Well, and just because he's throwing doesn't mean he's ready to pitch in a Major League Baseball game. Yeah. He's recovering. Usually it takes about a year before you can even think about touching game action. He had the surgery on April 13th. You really don't want to put his return date until like he's making possible rehab starts in Iowa or wherever.
Yeah. You will not see him. April. You won't see him in spring training. No. You know what I mean? You're not going to.
You'll see him, but you won't see him pitch.
Right.
Like,
correct.
He'll be in camp.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Even that, like when he's in Iowa, that even when he comes back and he's okay, we're giving him a start.
Pitch count.
All of it's going to be impacted. Yeah, I'm not going to expect him to be 100% Justin Steele.
No.
I'm not. Like, at any point next year, I'm not going to expect him to be 100% Justin Steele. He's going to be trying to come back from a second Tommy John surgery. Anyways, it was fun to watch Bieber. Bieber and Ohtani, 2 guys who have both had Tommy John within the last 2 years. Kind of unbelievable. And, I think the Jays have a chance because it's best of 3 now. Look what happens in best of 3 is crazy.
And what's funny about it's just the little things, right? Where I thought Ohtani did pitch really well last night. He was getting a lot of swing and miss, but at the same time, I thought they left him out there too long. And why did they leave him out there too long? Because the night before they played an 18-inning game, which I think sort of tips the scales maybe back into the Blue Jays' favor where, like talent, Dodgers maybe got more of it, but they're both dead dog tired right now, and that could give the Blue Jays an advantage to keep fighting in this series if the Dodgers have to extend guys more than they would probably like to.
All right, next we're going to dive into this Jon Heyman report about Ohtani's deal, how it related to the Cubs. Did they get the same offer as the Dodgers? Yada, yada, yada. Tell us what you think in the live YouTube chat. We're going to take a quick break for our sponsors. Back on the CHGO Cubs Love Connection in 2 and 2.
Hey, Cubs fans, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. They got the football early payout offer. So tomorrow for Thursday Night Football, pick either team. If one of that team that you pick goes up by 17 points, you are an instant winner on the payout of the straight bets or the parlay selections that are marked as winners. So download the app, use code CHGO365, 100% parlay boost. You can double your winnings on parlays with Bet365, 100% parlay boost. Remember, use code CHGO365 when you sign up. And also the World Series going on, pick the Blue Jays or pick the Dodgers. The team that you pick, they go up by 5 runs. You're also an instant winner. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and sign up. Remember, if you deposit $10 in there, you place a bet for $5, you can get up to $200 in bonus bets if you use code CHGO365. You must be 21 plus or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling or referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in app only.
Are you ready to level up your collection or just get started trading cards? Arena Club's original slab packs bring the thrill of ripping packs combined with the power to buy, sell, and trade all in one place. Get authentic, graded cards instantly on Arena Club. You decide, hold, sell, or have it shipped directly to you. You can also decide to take instant cash offers based on market value. One click, cash in, no guesswork. With slab packs, you can rip a wide range of packs starting at $25. And every pack has grails that are at least 20 times the price of the pack. With every slab pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card. From your digital showroom, you can trade, sell, auction, or retrieve your physical card from Arena Club. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, grading, whatever, ripping those packs right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/CHGO. Again, code CHGO. Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by our friends at Toyota, where we talked about the World Series, tied at 2. Now we'll see what happens after that. By the way, at some point yesterday, we started hearing this report from Jon Heyman, and then it was in another report. It was all about this Ohtani, because everybody, after Ohtani's incredible game where he was on base 9 times and hit 2 home runs and 2 doubles, and then he pitched the next day, everybody wanted to talk about their franchise and why they didn't give Ohtani $1 billion, because that's what we all do. Why didn't we get this guy? Why don't we have this player?
Spend that $1 billion.
We can sit here and debate all along. We could spend the rest of the day debating whether or not the Cubs actually had a chance. But Heyman's report is, hey, the Cubs are one of the teams that Ohtani took the same framework deal, $700 million, 10 years, deferred to the Cubs, and the Cubs said no. Now, I don't believe most of this is actually new news. We already know that Tom Ricketts has said, I don't do deferred contracts. Don't want to do them, don't like them. I'm not big into deferred money. So we know the Cubs aren't doing that. We also know the Cubs weren't doing $700 million. Right? So, even if it wasn't, it could have been deferred a loan that the Cubs said no. It could have been $700 million that the Cubs said no. But even if the Cubs said yes, it doesn't mean Ohtani was saying yes to the Cubs. It just meant he would go to the Dodgers and say, well, the Cubs will give me the deal that I want. Will you?
The report also suggested that the Cubs put an offer on the table that would have been more guaranteed money up front without the deferral, somewhere over the $500 million range.
Right.
And look, okay.
Joey, that's like the Sox offering Manny Machado money. It's not real.
Yeah, look. Okay.
They knew he was going to say no.
So there's 5 teams, right? And it seems like Ohtani's representatives placed these particular contract structures in front of these 5 teams and asked them, would you be willing to continue to have this discussion? The Blue Jays said yes. The Giants said yes. Dodgers said yes. Angels said no. Cubs said no. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I can understand if, as a Cubs fan, you say to yourself, well, why didn't you go to the 11th hour? Right? Why didn't you go to 11:59 and say to yourself, I can put my head on the pillow tonight knowing that I did everything I could to sign who's basically becoming Michael Jordan of the sport, because that's the last thing that you want to do when we're talking about opening day for the 2032 Cubs. The last thing you want to do is say, man, we did have that little window to possibly get Michael Jordan, and because of our philosophies or our financial principles, we weren't willing to break or bend them to bring in a guy that also now are getting reports that there's $100 million of revenue and profit simply having him on the team from international just buzz and advertising and marketing and all that good stuff. Having said all of that, this feels like a nothing story to me. Yes. Because if you're willing to just say that he was always going to be a Dodger, that's what he wanted to do. He moved to Los Angeles and was playing in Buena Park, California, or Anaheim, California, and he always wanted to be a Dodger. That's always where it was going to go. The Dodgers were going to offer this deferred contract, which we also don't know whether the Blue Jays or Giants were going to say, yeah, we're going to defer for the next 25 years. We don't know that. If he was always going to be a Dodger, I don't understand what the big part of the story is.
Listen, you know how the Cubs would have been able to sign Shohei Ohtani? The Cubs, when Ohtani's camp came and said, here, 10 years, $700 million, we're going to let you defer like 95% of that so you can actually earn it back right away. Then you can invest that money and make even more money back before you have to pay me the money. It's helping you. More importantly, it's helping the team, because now you can go out and spend lots of guys, because I'm only making $2 million this year. So your team's going to be incredible, because you can take all the money you thought you were going to spend on me, and now you can go spend it on 4 other players if you want, or 2 other superstar players, whatever you want.
Or waffles with pineapple and coconut syrup like Ben James is doing right now in Hawaii. Get yourself 2 of those.
Okay, so the way the Cubs could have signed Ohtani, maybe, this is the only possibility they had, is when that deal came to him, the Cubs and Tom Ricketts, they would have looked at it and said, oh yeah, we're in on the conversation. Not only will we defer the money like you want, we're not going to start at $700 million. We're going to give you $900 million. And if the Dodgers want to match that, get back to us.
We got to know.
Otherwise, nobody's going to touch us. We want you the back. That's the only way you would have convinced him to not go to another team. You don't take the greatest player in baseball history and say to him, all right, you want $700 million deferred? Well, I tell you what, how about a bowl of Jell-O and some whipped cream instead? Like, what?
Well, and you got to take a note
from
Steve Ballmer. $700 million, but also sprinkle $52 million in a tree
company.
Gallagher Way needs trees. It's right there.
You mean you're talking about Ricketts Crickets Farm?
Ricketts Crickets Farm.
Yes.
That's a wonderful, wonderful company. That's about a very eco-friendly. Doesn't exist.
Ricketts Crickets. It's silly. That's why I was saying even back then, they're not only are they going to have to outspend the Dodgers and these other teams, because that's where he really wants to go. You're going to have to outspend them, and you're going to have to be more creative than they are. Well, Ohtani took the creative part out and said, this is what I want. I'm going to make the team better, and I'm going to let you pay me later. It's good for you. It's good for the team, and I have enough money because I've made enough money that it doesn't matter. I don't need $50 million this year because of endorsements. I'm stupid rich anyways. What they had to do was be creative a different way then. Then they had to be like, well, how about do you want us to rename Hotel Zachary Hotel Ohtani? Do you want our hotel? That's the type of thing that I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if you can do that, but you have to be more creative.
They have other assets that they could have brought in and made it more attractive. And here's the thing that, look, let's try and take this across baseball now and not just make this only about Tom Ricketts, because there were other teams that could have signed Ohtani and couldn't do it. And with this labor thing coming, is just that there is a tilting of power when it comes to money that is being injected into sports that I think even the Ricketts family, that they're millionaires upon millionaires upon millionaires.
They're billionaires. They're all millionaires.
Right, but there's people, I think, even with bigger money trying to come in, and Steve Cohen's a latest example. Jeffrey Bezos has always talked about owning a sports franchise at one point or another. Whether it's baseball or whether it's someone else, will yet to be seen. And I'm curious, like, when it heads to this labor thing of, like, if you're Tom or any other owner, is this because you don't feel like you have the wherewithal to withstand something for the next 10 to 20 years? Do you see the fact that are you like, I'm going to be a Cubs owner for life? Like, the Ricketts family is going to own the Chicago Cubs for the next 50, 60 years. If that's what you're hoping for. So how are you trying to negotiate and manage that as this bigger money comes in? And we could talk all we want about the Dodgers and like all their TV money and everything, but I think that the owners also have some pretty deep pockets too as well. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see how billionaires are getting pushed around by multi-billionaires now. And I think that they're going to try and solve it off by saying, oh, well, we need a salary cap, which is just going to hurt the players, when we all know all these guys have tons and tons and tons of money to throw around. But the deferments is something that baseball really needs to look into. How can it be structured? How can it be a guardrail? And how do we at least make it equitable for every team if they want to utilize it? Something that they can at least compete in a contractual negotiation without it absolutely bouncing them out of it right away.
I just want to share something too. I know this is just something out there. This is from @Brooksgate. This is 2024 team revenue. Cubs were third in $584 million in total revenue in 2024. And then in 2025, their payroll plus tax was 14th in baseball, $213 million. So just difference of 36% between the payroll and revenue.
Oh, there's no question they have some other things to spend on the teams don't, but they're not putting as much. The idea of we put every dollar back into the team, that's been washed away.
Yeah.
Ronnie in the chat, our guy says Jed and Tom only dip a toe in the pool. Let's see a cannonball for once. We haven't seen one. I don't know if Cease and Schwarber cannonball, but that would be the closest thing we've ever seen to a cannonball from the Cubs organization.
On the Cubby curve, that is a cannonball, and we were all wet and we were all very happy.
It would be a naked cannonball is what that would be. Completely nude from the top tier diving board. The platform dive.
Right, and honestly,
I disagree because I honestly still feel like you guys are limiting yourself as Cubs fans. Kyle Tucker was here in Chicago. In the first half, he was leading that team to a possible 100-win season, clearing the Brewers from that weird second half devil magic that they pulled. I mean, what you should be dreaming of is signing Kyle Tucker and Schwarber and Cease or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, we're looking at a $584 million rake-in 2024. You have playoffs in 2025. There's zero reason why the high top-end diving board jump should be $400 million.
That's what's wrong with baseball. Every team should be in on. When Ohtani's like that, nobody should be saying, we're not going to give you $700 million and we're not going to defer. We know this is what you want, but we could give you, again, some Jell-O's, a pool of whipped cream, and we can give you keys to a Buick. No, that's not what we should be saying. The White Sox owner literally came out to the media and laughed. We're not going to be on that. I can tell you one thing. We're not going after Ohtani.
Yeah, how does that look right now?
What?
They got a discount. He's worth $1 billion. He's worth $1 billion. And they're paying him $700.
Basically, every team in baseball was saying the same thing, only he actually said it.
No, and look, the pie in the sky thing is, I'm with you. Like, I want Tucker, I want Cease, and I want them to trade for Adley Rutschman. Or if it's Tucker or Schwarber or sign Cease, whatever it is, I think they could definitely throw their weight around for sure. But
you're saying he's worth $1 billion. I mean, he's priceless at this point. I mean, look at what Jordan turned into. Look at what LeBron's turning into. Look at what Brady's turning into. These players have turned into owners. They are their own brand of player where they are the owner of the team. They went from that player to that next level where it's over GM, over coach. Yeah. They just own the damn team. And Ohtani can own a damn team whenever he retires.
When you're the Cubs, Ohtani is now in the rear view mirror. But what they can do, and what a lot of other teams did when Michael Jordan came around, was they can try and get as good as they can to try and stand next to this bright, shining star and just try and pick off of that profit pool of all the eyeballs that are going to be on Ohtani. Like, when you talk about Michael Jordan and the Knicks in the 90s, right? Like, the Cubs could probably try and just be the Knicks. And I'm saying Ohtani can be beaten, right? Michael Jordan couldn't be beaten. You should just try and be the Knicks. Try and rival that huge star every single year, because there will be eyeballs on you and you will get more fans and you will make more money that way. But you have to go to the dance. You can't just say, well, we just can't compete with the Dodgers. Like, I don't want to hear that anymore. Like, you can compete with them, maybe not in dollars, but with talent and creativity. And yes, it will cost some money, but
the Blue Jays are showing us that. They're showing that they're 2 wins away from beating the Dodgers in the World Series, but they've also spent a lot of money.
5 guys with $100 million contracts on their roster right now, not asking too much.
All right, we're going to start grading our Cubs catchers here on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by our friends at Toyota. Hey, Cubs fans, pay attention. Toyota has 25 vehicles available with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And with the weather that's on our way, you better have it. The RAV4 has legendary versatility. Grand Highlander's adult-size third row is for real, and the Tacoma's wild side, that comes standard. From job sites to campsites and game nights, there's an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota to get you there in style. Find yours at Toyota.com or visit your Chicagoland Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. What a time it is in our history right now to become a CHGO diehard. Upgrade your fandom today. Get access to our exclusive written content, free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on merch and events. We got new merch in the store right now. Nice. And access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out and connect. Don't miss out on this opportunity right now. We are here. We want to be friends with you. Diehards.
And also, we want to talk to you about Eye on the Ball. Hey, coaches, listen up. If you're looking for more athletes to train, Eye on the Ball is where you need to be. The company created by CHGO diehards. Dave and Chris were just in the office here last week. Started out in Glen Ellen trying to find a golf coach for their daughter. They had a hard time, but that's why they created Eye on the Ball, and they make it so simple. You create your profile, upload your background check, and boom, you're in the game. They have a new promo right now. You can get up to 6 months free, or it's $50 a month or $500 for the year. Athletes of all ages and all sports can find you directly. Here's the best part. Eye on the Ball doesn't mess with your schedule, doesn't mess with your payments, doesn't mess with your business. You are in full control. All they do is just connect you to athletes that are already looking for a coach like you. So if you're ready to grow your coaching business and reach more athletes, go check it out right now. It's eyeontheball.net. That's right, eyeontheball.net, created by CHGO diehards right here in Glen Ellen, Illinois. Don't wait, because the athletes are out there right now waiting to connect with you.
Do the coaching. Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota, where Becky on the live YouTube chat has interrupted this podcast to let us know that she's having grilled cheese and tomato soup.
What kind of bread, Becky? What kind of bread?
Welcome to fall. Beautiful.
Sourdough, 9 grain.
Are you having a pumpkin spice latte alongside that grilled cheese and tomato soup?
There you go. Looking at the foliage falling and just...
I don't want anything. I'll say this 100 times on this podcast. I don't want anything on my grilled cheese other than cheese. Don't put bacon on it. I don't want any of the other garbage people throw to make their grilled cheese fancy.
Are you drinking coffee with soup, though?
No, I'm not. I'm not having... I don't like tomato soup. I would have my grilled cheese with chili. I would have my grilled cheese with chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
Or chicken gnocchi soup.
Sure.
Or a potato soup.
So not even like a potato chip on the grilled cheese? No. Okay.
You're crumbling chips onto your sandwiches. That's
blasphemy.
That's second grade. Come on, Joey, you're better than that.
No, I'm not saying that I like to do that. I'm saying people will do that. No,
You're
I like sourdough, 2 kinds of cheese, and then call it there. I'm not. Yeah, tomato.
I don't need other stuff.
Honestly, tomatoes having a hard time, I think, in the sandwich business, if I can be honest with you.
Yeah.
Burgers, pointless. Everyone takes them off.
They slide off.
Yeah. BLT, okay, maybe you're still hanging in there, but that's kind of an older guy's sandwich a little bit.
You know, for sure. You ever hear tomato sauce? You ever hear of something that just like is the entire foundation of Italian cooking?
Sandwiches?
But not a raw tomato on top.
You ever hear have a BLT?
The tomato, the BLT. Okay,
slice.
You ever have an Italian sandwich with a tomato? You need the acidity. You need
get it out of there.
You're just wrong.
You're getting it with the Italian dressing.
Oh, Ron, you're speaking my language now. That grilled cheese. If you want to see a perfect one, look on my Instagram. I've posted a few. And Ron says with chicken and wild rice. The people in Minnesota, they know how to make the chicken and wild rice up there.
That's pretty good.
Creamy chicken and wild rice. Although I did get food poisoning up there once from it, and I will never forget it.
Packers fan once gave me food poisoning too at the Packers bar here in Chicago. That's a story for another pod. Matty Beard, hey all, I miss Cubs baseball. I do too, man. It was a great ride. Hadn't been in the playoffs for about 7 years. Just to get back in the dance and then have an opportunity for Pete Armstrong to just squeeze the ball in the glove and just win a round.
But Jed still gets a C- because we should at least expect that every single year.
As we should, yes.
All right, so now report cards. We start to begin. Now that we gave Jed his grades or grade, what did we end up with? An overall C-?
I think he ended up locking into a C.
Oh, boy, that's generous. Okay, now we're starting with the players, and we're actually just going to do a lot of these by position, but some of the players will be big enough that they can go by themselves. In this position, we're going with catcher. And so we're looking at Carson Kelly, Miguel Amaya, and Reese McGuire. We're not doing, I guess we could, if you wanted to sidebar it and throw in a little Mo Baller. Did actually catch for the Cubs this year.
He did. He caught 2 innings.
So that'll be our wild card grade at the end. We haven't thought about it, but our wild card grade. I still think like you could do a small report card for Mo Baller, but it's such a small window. Maybe we should be throwing him into the catcher's mix.
Yeah, and to be very fair, like I'm happy to entertain it, but he's close to an INC just in the fact that I want to see more from him next year if they decide to give him a little bit more run.
All right, let's start with Carson Kelly then, okay? Carson Kelly, 2 years, $11.5 million, free agent signing by the Cubs.
Who the hell is that?
About $6 million last year. We got a headshot. If you're listening in podcast form, go to the YouTube channel and go ahead and look up at the headshot cartoon that we have for Joey.
That is Joe from DLLS. Thank you, Joe, for giving us your name, likeness, and
AI is.
It would have been funnier, I think, if we just put a full hair Ryan Dempster up there next to me. Because that's Joey a little bit.
Yeah, give me a just put it right.
He's got right now. I'm looking out to the side and I'm like, hey Demp. Anyways, when you and
I'm flipping the glove right in front of you too. I'm doing
Demp,
the whole thing
when you were moved to
like
the bullpen and all of a sudden you were the Cubs closer and at times Lou Piniella thought your name was Craig.
I don't want to talk about that. I just want to do my Harry Carey impression.
He does
Is that all right?
He does.
I love Demp.
Demp does an impression of Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey.
Correct. Yeah. If you're a hot dog, would you eat yourself? That whole thing. So Carson Kelly.
Ben says, in your wild card grade, I'd be interested in your thoughts about whether you think they ever try Mo Baller behind the plate. Why or why not? I don't know. We're gonna find out. I think this offseason, my guess is Reese McGuire is not back with the Cubs.
I would assume that as well.
Right?
Yeah.
And then depending on what you think of the often injured Miguel Amaya, is it possible they're thinking Mo Baller is the third catcher? Anyways, Carson Kelly, he signs this 2-year, $11.5 million deal, and it is a huge win for Jed Hoyer in the offseason. Like, it turned out to be great. Like, it was pretty clear that the number one thing the Cubs needed was a superstar offensive player. The number two thing they needed was to improve catcher, like, because catcher was a disaster. But there were a lot of things on the list. Carson Kelly was supposed to be the backup. He ended up basically being your number one catcher. And when we looked at the fact that you want guys to exceed projections, that's what Jed needs. Everybody's got to exceed projections. He got that tenfold with Carson Kelly. His projected zips were a 1.3 F4. He turned in a 3.3 F4.
Wow.
He was projected to have 8 homers. He had 19. He was projected to play 91 games. He played 138. His WRC plus was supposed to be 85. It was 103. My Carson Kelly grade is A-. Now, there are several factors to that. Do I think I'm grading him on what you expected him to be on this Cubs team? So those types of projections. He crushed those. Crushed them. I expected him to be my number 2 catcher. He was the number 1 catcher, basically, for the team this season. So he exceeded all projections that we made as a fan base, as a team, even the computers. Now, I also have to compare him to the rest of the catchers in baseball, just a little bit, to be fair. Like, okay, I can't give him an A+ because he wasn't the best catcher in baseball, right? I can't just say he's an A+.
Maybe in the first half you can give him an A+.
But what I expect for what we were paying him, what the Cubs were paying him, and what they expected and needed him to be, he blew that away. That doesn't mean he's the best catcher in baseball, but I think it deserves an A-. Like, he put himself in pretty good company. There weren't a ton of catchers in baseball where you said, oh, straight up, this guy's having a better year than Carson Kelly. Now, would I rather have William Contreras at catcher than Carson Kelly? Yeah, I'm not saying that. Yes, but we're also paying him a small amount of money, and he was supposed to be the backup. The bar for catcher was low. He jumped way over it.
Yeah, Ron's saying the bar is set for catchers. Cal Raleigh would be A+. Kelly was supposed to be a C- with solid year. Gives him a B-.
Okay, I can deal with that, Ron.
I hear you.
I thought about a B, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go A-. I never expect. He was expected to hit 8 home runs. He hit 19.
Right, and this was a guy who a decade ago was a top prospect in the Cardinals system, a guy that was supposed to take over for Yadier Molina, the heir apparent that was supposed to be there for years and years. So the days of him being that starting catcher were gone years ago. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he played as many games as he did, out of necessity, right, but also because he deserved it with production. The fact that he hit cleanup in 30 games and racked up 110 at-bats in cleanup in our lineup. He hit 5th, 112 at-bats in our lineup this year. Speaks to some of the maybe shortcomings of maybe more thunder that's needed in the Cubs lineup, but also speaks a lot to what Carson Kelly was able to do this year before the All-Star break. Slash line, 276, 376 on base percentage. That's the one that really impressed me. How often he was able to be on base. With that eye up at the plate, and a 523 slug for an 899 OPS. The reason why I cannot give him an A is simply after the All-Star break, slash line 218, 278 on base, over 100-point difference, 318 slugging for a 596 OPS. Now, he came back a little bit in September with some big hits, right?
Yeah.
Slugging percentage of 412 in September, still only hit 221, and then, of course, hit one of those back-to-back jacks against the Padres. I got to give him some credit for that. So
from your backup catcher.
Right. So absolutely B+ at the very least for Carson Kelly, and I think at the bare minimum, Chicago Cubs fans cannot expect this kind of production from him again next season, which is why we're seeing it in the chat. And I'll toss this to you now. This has been one of my pet little theories, too, that if the Chicago Cubs wanted to be bold and be aggressive, one of the guys out there that I have been intrigued about is I think Adley Rutschman on the Baltimore Orioles can be had, because I think the Baltimore Orioles, with Sam Basayo up now, I think they think he's the catcher of their future. And I do think the Baltimore Orioles have done a great job bringing in left-handed power hitting. They need to get a little bit more right-handed. And I'm wondering if there's a way where a trade can possibly, of all the fun little, speculation things that we're doing now in October and November, Adley Rutschman possibly on the Chicago Cubs to supplant Carson Kelly for one more year and maybe push Amaya out. I think that's something that maybe I'd be interested in entertaining.
I don't think I love the idea. I don't think you can count on a fully healthy Miguel Amaya any more than I think you can count on Carson Kelly to do the same thing again next year, 19 home runs. So I agree with you there. Again, there's going to be uncertainty going into next season about Cubs catchers because of the health of the guy that's supposed to be your number one, and the number two guy greatly exceeded projections in what was a terrific season for him. I'm happy to change my grade to a B+, just like you. I think you guys maybe have probably talked me into it. But one other thing that's part of being a catcher, and this is what the Cubs have said flat out, they want to focus on they want their catcher focusing on first is defense, calling a game.
Yeah.
Pitch framing, all those things. That's one of the reasons that Wilson is not the catcher of the Cubs. So we can't forget that in grades. Now, I don't have the stats behind the scenes of this is what he was for pitch framing. Sean can tell us those until he's blue in the face, Cubby blue in the face. But all I know is that there were pitchers on the Cubs that did a lot better this year. He was the catcher for a lot of those guys in the bullpen that started to turn it around. He was there for Cade Horton. He was there for Matthew Boyd. He was there with Tyone. And I never heard one guy, you never heard a whisper around the Cubs of people saying, I don't like the way Carson Kelly called that game for me. I don't like the way Carson Kelly framed that. That will happen throughout a season, a.k.a. Wilson Contreras, when guys aren't enjoying the way some things are going. Never heard a whisper about it. That usually means the guy's doing a good enough job in my eyes. So that's another thing that I gave him a little bit of a boost. It doesn't mean I expect it next year.
The one thing that is consistent with framing is it's not like every single, like there's guys that grade out consistently well every single year. Kelly jumps up and down. This year he was -2. The year before he was 3. The year before that he was -3. The year before that he was 1. The year before that he was -1. The year before that he was 3. So negative year this year, but he was good on blocks and caught stealing. Low pop time, low arm-ish, but graded well on blocking balls, not letting balls get behind him. Runners weren't typically allowed to advance, and framing was like slightly below average.
And Sean, we talk about this on CHGO White Sox. Like, wouldn't you also say that blocking and caught stealing are probably going to be more valued moving forward as we start to the advent of ABS starts getting enveloped into the game a little bit more? And my other part, and I don't mean to dovetail and make this a two-parter, but like with Mo Baller in the years to come, like how far away are we from the ABS just being across the board in Major League Baseball? The same way that, remember when Kyle Schwarber was going to be a DH, but we didn't have the DH in the National League yet? Did we have the foresight to maybe just wait it out a little bit? Yes. And if Mo Baller could be a catcher, can he just improve enough and be passable as a blocking catcher and caught stealing and not worried so much about the framing?
Final thing, just to add on Carson Kelly, his framing value -2, throwing value 3, blocking 1. So overall, his defense was a +3 catching run. So positive defender behind the plate.
And we had multiple games where on this podcast we said that was the Carson Kelly game. That was the Carson Kelly game 2.0. That was the Carson Kelly game 3.0.
Right.
When that's a name that sticks in your head at the end of the season about a guy we're naming jokingly the whole game after him, that means he had some really, really good games. And he was supposed to be your backup plan.
And again, we've done it on many post-game shows, and when we're talking about the grade for Carson Kelly, he deserves these high marks also because when we want to pat Cade Horton on the back for having an unbelievable hair-on-fire second half, that is still a rookie out there. And when he has that confidence, you have to think some of that confidence is coming from knowing that the catcher has his back, has that support, is going to block that pitch in the dirt, is going to take care of him. And if I get into a situation where maybe I don't know exactly what to do in this sequence, Carson Kelly is going to be able to be there and guide there for me. So the catcher does get credit for a lot of the successes that the Cubs pitchers had this year.
And this is a huge if Carson Kelly were to repeat this type of season again next year, maybe a little more even, right? Like,
sprinkle it out a little bit more instead of fire hose and then turn into a drip.
Work your way around the plate instead of just eating all the mashed potatoes first, right? But if he were able to do this again next year in year 2 of this deal, and if Miguel Amaya is 100% healthy finally, is it a 50-50 split? Are you willing to say that if Carson Kelly can put up these type of numbers, that no matter if Miguel Amaya is healthy, he's your number one? I don't know about that.
Yeah, so there's two things about it, right? And the health of Miguel Amaya is so integral to this whole conversation where I do think on the general, I think Miguel Amaya provides a little bit more power than Carson Kelly does. And again, you would think conventional wisdom would say that Miguel Amaya, obviously being younger, would hopefully be the catcher of the future. So you would want to give him more run. But if you want, let's roll our grades right here for Miguel Amaya. We are in lockstep with Miguel Amaya. We can't go higher than a C-. And it just has everything to do with him staying healthy. You know, the oblique injury knocked him out for over 2 months, comes back. The ankle injury in Toronto is nobody's fault, right? I'm not going to knock him on that. But again, when you get bit by the snake, you can't help but try and get the venom out, and he continuously keeps getting bit over and over and over again to the point where you just start feeling hesitant about, can this guy be a consistent help for you in his, not just his career, but for the Chicago Cubs.
His minor league career was littered with setbacks.
Couldn't get on the field.
Couldn't get on. Like, he was supposed to be the real deal. I like Miguel Amaya a lot, and I don't like knocking a player's grade down for injuries, but it's almost the whole story for him, right? Like, it's his whole professional baseball grade has been impacted by trying to stay healthy, and I don't believe any of them are necessarily his fault. I really don't. It's not like he's doing ridiculous things on the field. But it's got to be a C-. It was below average. He wasn't around for you in the postseason. He wasn't around when you needed him the most. Now, it's not his fault, but I also can't give him an A just because he was hurt. If that was true, like, well, when he played, he was pretty good. Well, yeah, that's true, but he just wasn't. Availability is
the ball in the basket
important.
Hit the game tying. I think it was against the Dodgers, right? Early on in the year, and I like his offensive. I like his offensive toolbox. Like, I think he can be an above average offensive catcher, and he showed us enough defensively. that I wanted to build trust in him. And Luke, that's what stinks about it, is that we walked into this year thinking this could be the year where Miguel Amaya not only takes that role, but holds on to it and maybe becomes the Cubs catcher for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And again, the injuries continue to hold him back.
Yep.
And personally, as a Cubs fan, I can't trust that anymore. And I don't have a ton of faith that Carson Kelly's going to Xerox what he did this year, again, into next year. But maybe with a lighter workload, maybe it does work out. That's why, like, a guy like an Adley Rutschman, a big swing like that, I think could be something the Chicago Cubs could entertain as a creative way to get better. Now, Adley Rutschman did not have a good season last year, but I still think there's a ton of talent in that bat. I think his best days could still be ahead of him, which is why that's why my interest level is so high on that.
Okay, and one last question about Miguel Amaya. Let's play another hypothetical. You've got $1,000 of your own money that you just got in a bonus from CHGO.
Woo!
And you have to invest it in a bet at Circus Sportsbook or Bet365, one of our partners. And you've got to put that money down. Are you putting it down on Miguel Amaya being healthy and being the good Miguel Amaya, but most importantly, healthy? Or are you putting it on Carson Kelly being able to repeat 2025 in 2026?
Carson Kelly.
If it's $1,000 of your newfound money, you'd be like, I think Carson Kelly could hit 19 homers and he could have the WRC plus, do all those things. 138 games.
Yeah, I do. So there's a couple things. Like, one, I feel like, clearly the Chicago Cubs need to make improvements with their lineup and their rotation. We'll see how that goes. But, my preference would be Carson Kelly not hitting cleanup or hitting fifth next year.
Especially in the playoffs.
I really do think, though, if you're telling me that this guy can profile as on a day-to-day basis, a dude that can get on base anywhere between 34 to 36% of the time, get that 360-ish OBP, or maybe even a 350, and you're telling me that he can hunt fastballs at the bottom of the lineup with him and Dansby just kind of like looking to just grip it and rip it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he can provide you some pretty solid value. I don't know if I'd go far as 19, but I can see a more reasonable world where Carson Kelly gets you 14, 15 home runs next year than Miguel Amaya catching you 120 games. And that's just where I'm landing at right now.
Yeah, the last injury where he's stretching out the leg, and I thought that was going to be really, really bad to get to first. I feel bad for him with all the injuries. I just want him to be healthy. I think if I had $1,000, I would put it on Carson Kelly repeating 2025 and 2026 before I'd put it on Amaya being totally healthy next year and finally taking that step. And that's hard to say. It's just, I can't look past the history, and none of it's been his fault. It just seems like, but once you have more and more injuries, it all impacts your body.
We were both rooting for it. Yeah, we were both rooting for it, but when we're talking about that imaginary money, that's where it would go.
Yeah. And that's right, Ron. He was a first-round pick. He's got legit talent, so maybe he's finally going to start to have a late career. It doesn't happen to many guys, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Reese McGuire. I don't have to spend a ton of time on Reese McGuire because he's the Cubs' third-string catcher.
Yeah.
And it was a pickup that was a bonus for the Cubs and for Jed Hoyer. Did it work out in some games? It sure did. I didn't expect to have a Reese McGuire game or two either. But do I think he's necessarily part of their future? No, I don't. I gave him a C. He was an average catcher when he played. At best, he was an average catcher. However, he was their third-string catcher.
Yeah.
So in that way, and he cost you nothing. So in that way, I'm very pleased with Reese McGuire. I have no idea what his future is.
Probably not with the Cubs.
Oh.
I'm glad that it worked out for both parties, right? We needed a guy when Miguel Amaya went down, brought in Reese McGuire, immediately, hit a couple bombs, I think, against the Cincinnati Reds, right? He hit 9 home runs this year in 45 games with 24 RBIs. And that's pretty much all you can hope for, right? Wasn't a big OBP guy, slugged 444. So obviously was going up there just trying to hit the ball hard and in the air somewhere, and he was able to do that. I think he was an improvement, certainly, over some of the backup catchers we've had in this town before, like Tucker Barnhart or even I'll stir the echoes of Paul Bacco back in the day, right? So on that level, I gave him a C+. I think it was a good move by Jed and the Cubs. It worked out with Reese McGuire. He contributed several times with very low expectations, expectations that we should keep, and I don't think he's part of the plans next year.
Is Reese McGuire going to be a factor in the Cubs catcher situation next year? I think the kids would say 6'7". 6'7". It's mostly 6'7", 6'7". Probably get that into every show. Kevin Palmer was in the chat talking about some of the Cubs catcher stuff. Let me see that, Sean. He just had one on there. Kevin Palmer.
He hustled on that play.
Can
that he hurt his
Mo Baller
ankle?
be the next Alejandro Kirk? I don't know. I would hope so, but I think he's sort of destined. I think he's going to be a DH for somebody, but in order to be a DH, he's going to have some power because people don't want their DH having just contact skills.
End of the day, I get it with the Mo Baller because that's a position that he played in the minor leagues and certainly when he was drafted. If I was Mo Baller, I would try and figure out how to play left field or first base. Mm-hmm. That would be my personal opinion of what I would tell him to do. They flashed him a little bit at first, remember, towards the end of the year. They flashed him a little bit catcher just to see, like, could he survive 3 or 6 outs if we ever brought him into a game? And look, like, he's not such an amazing superstar hitter that we need to clear some space for him. He still has something to prove at the major league level. So I do think that it would behoove Mr. Mo Baller to figure out, I think, left field or first base before catcher, just in my opinion.
All right. It is time. We got, 4 minutes left, 3.5 minutes left. YouTube channel, chat, get involved with this. It's time for today's Stuck With Me. What stuck with me was that 9 years ago today, the Chicago Cubs lost in the World Series, and they lost 7-2 to Cleveland. It was at Wrigley Field. Before the game, I talked to Vince Vaughn. Okay, I did a little interview with Vince Vaughn about his movie. I think it was Hacksaw Ridge at the time. Is that what it was called?
Hacksaw Ridge. That was Andrew Garfield and Mel Gibson. Was he in that movie? Oh, I think he was. I think he was a general or something like that.
Okay, so that's what it was. That was the movie that was out at the time.
He was
the World Series, interviewed him before this game. Cubs lose 7-2, and they go down 3-1 to Cleveland. What stuck with me was that was the day that I interviewed Vince Vaughn for the first time, and that was the day that I stuck with the Cubs. I didn't give up hope down 3-1. I thought they could still do this. All they got to do is win that next game. And sure enough, that's why you don't give up on your favorite team. That's why I'm not giving up that they don't spend money the way I want them to sometimes. That's why I don't give up. But it made me think of Vince Vaughn. And I thought to myself, all right, what's my favorite Vince Vaughn movie? What's my favorite quote?
Well, real quick, you were right. Hacksaw Ridge was filmed in 2016, but I think he was more likely promoting the fact that he was in the Don't Want to Know Maroon 5 music video.
That is not it.
In 2016.
Yeah,
he took a serious turn in 2016.
It was a military. I knew it was a military movie because he was kind of serious at the beginning of the interview, and I was like, "Come on, baby, I'm money," and he got it. So what are your favorite quotes or favorite movies? The ones from Swingers are like, I hear them all the time. He must get yelled those all the time.
You're all grown up,
baby. Vegas.
You're all grown up, baby.
Vegas, baby. Vegas.
How about Jeremy Roenick? He's really good. Oh, it made the blood. Oh, the blood. Oh, look at that. And then they
Do you think he's ever been in Las Vegas and not had just like every other person be like, Vegas, baby, Vegas? You're so money and you don't even know it. Swingers.
Yes.
Yeah, hear that one a lot. I had to look this one up because I didn't know it exactly. I'm not perfect, but who are we kidding? Neither are you. And you know what? I dig it. He had some great ones in Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers was full of great quotes from him.
We put a little maple syrup conglomerates.
That's what it is.
We put a little maple syrup in my hair.
Let's be from Vermont. And let's have an emerging maple syrup conglomerate. Yeah. But I don't know anything about it.
Count Chocula?
I love maple syrup. I love maple syrup on pancakes. I love it on pizza. I love to take a little maple syrup and put it a little bit in my hair when I've had a rough week. What do you think makes it hold up, Slick?
She's a little crazy. Well, maybe I'm a little crazy too. You know what I mean?
There's so many also that, because this is a family show, we cannot say from some of these movies.
But what's your favorite Vince Vaughn movie? Because I love, me and Braggs have had this conversation before about what's a better movie, Swingers or Made. Made is an underrated, great Vince Vaughn movie.
I would take 2 over those. I thought they're both great. I love the newer, just calmer stuff. Like Wedding Crashers to me is his best movie. That role with Owen Wilson is so good. Rule number 76.
Hot route,
no excuses. Play
play
like a champion.
Hold on, wait. So as somebody who's never seen Swingers.
We're going to go over. Do you want to go overtime?
No. What's the difference between Made and Swingers? They look exactly the same.
There's a nice way to
Couples
do that.
retreat.
Swingers is about 5 young actors trying to go out together, date, meet different women or whatever. Made is about a boxer, a low-rent boxer who's lost all of his fights, and his buddy then convinced him to get involved with this low-level mob guy, and they have to go to New York to do a deal for Peter Falk, and Vince Vaughn's a jerk.
I can take out the True Detective role.
Wonderful.
Well, I only want Vince Vaughn to be funny, and True Detective is a no. Dodgeball was pretty good, too.
Liked him in Psycho, good in The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
All right, thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by our friends at Toyota. Back at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Jordan Burnfield's going to join us again, and maybe another special guest as we get ready for Halloween. We might even do a candy draft tomorrow. Stick with us. Thanks for watching the Cubs podcast here at CHGO. Until tomorrow, fly the W.
Hot route.
We all silly like the mayor.